It's Tuesday, June 27th. I'm Jasmine Anderson. Topping your headlines, the plan to fix gridlock in the city could make your commute more expensive. The Federal Highway Administration has approved the MTA's congestion pricing plan. It would charge tolls to motorists driving below 60th Street in Manhattan. Those without an Easy Pass could face tolls up to $34.50. The program could start as early as next year. The $7 billion reconstruction of Penn Station is going forward, but the state is sidelining the plan to build 10 new skyscrapers nearby to help pay for it. Alfonso Castillo reports.
We're no longer tolerating delays. New Yorkers know my feelings. I've not been shy talking about how this is inferior. It's crowded, it's congested, it's unpleasant. And New Yorkers deserve to have the bright light coming in and shining upon them.
Our group is very much opposed to the general project plan, the GPP, which would build 10 mega office towers, luxury fancy office buildings all around Penn Station, which would obviously displace a lot of small businesses and residents and so on. And now what we're seeing is that people who own businesses in the community, who own properties in the community, don't want to invest in those businesses and those properties. They don't want to do repairs. Nobody can sell their properties who wants to sell because no one wants to buy.
Now, the governor says she'll consider any and all proposals for the redesign of Penn Station, but all of them will have to reckon with one thing: what to do with Madison Square Garden, which sits on top of Penn Station. Some ideas would require making big changes to the entrance to Madison Square Garden. Others would require knocking down the theater at Madison Square Garden to create a brand new entrance to Penn Station on 8th Avenue. For NewsdayTV, I'm Alfonso Castillo.
Read more about the redesign of Penn Station on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the NewsdayTV video box. A not guilty plea from the man accused of killing 2 teens while driving drunk and high in Jericho. Amandeep Singh of Roslyn was arraigned yesterday on vehicular manslaughter and other charges. Prosecutors previously charged him with vehicular homicide in the May wrong-way crash that killed 2 elite tennis players from Roslyn, 14-year-olds Drew Hassenbein and Ethan Falkowitz.
Words cannot express the sorrow I feel for these families.
They're doing absolutely terrible. I was speaking with the grandparents today, and this is just a nightmare that no family should ever have to go through.
Singh is being held without bail. He's due back in court July 25th and faces up to 32 years in prison if convicted. Morning on the North Fork today, farmhand Jaron Kanewi was hit by a pickup while walking on Sound Avenue in Jamesport last week. He died yesterday. Kanewi worked at Harb's family farm. He was originally from Guatemala, where he leaves behind 2 sons, ages 4 and 8, and his widow. Only in Newsday, Oyster Bay's town board is considering new employee disclosure requirements. It comes after the resignation of Inspector General Brian Noon. Prosecutors are investigating Noon after he approved a $2 million contract for a vendor that has ties to his business. The town attorney's office is now finalizing a resolution that would include new disclosure requirements intended to strengthen the town's existing ethics laws. A former financial advisor from Sagaponack was sentenced to prison for stealing nearly $7 million from longtime clients. Sean Golden will spend up to 3 years behind bars. The state attorney general says the owner of Golden Wealth Management Incorporated used investors' money to buy a Bridgehampton mansion, pay tax debts, and fund his investment firm. A new warning about mosquitoes this summer. The CDC is alerting doctors and public health officials about a handful of malaria cases. There hadn't been a case of malaria caught in the U.S. in 20 years before recently, when 4 people in Florida and 1 person in Texas seem to have gotten exposed to the disease locally. No tuition hike at Nassau Community College. Nassau legislators unanimously approved a $185 million budget for the school yesterday. It keeps tuition stable for the 2nd consecutive year. School officials say fall enrollment appears to be more than 11% higher, signaling a reversal of the steep drop NCC has seen over the last few years. A Long Islander is helping to lead Jamaica in the lacrosse championships. Quorum's AJ Knox, number 23 here, scored 2 goals on 2 shots to lead Jamaica to its 4th straight win at the Men's Lacrosse World Championships in San Diego yesterday. Knox is one of the 4 Long Island players on the Jamaican national team. They take on Italy today. Your hyper-local weather, here's a look at Atlantic Avenue Beach in Amagansett. Mostly cloudy, some stray showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Highs around 73 degrees. Tonight, scattered thunderstorms cooling down to the 60s. The sun will come out tomorrow with temps around 78 degrees. And you're probably wondering when we'll get a break from all the rain. Well, according to your Futurecast, we could start to clear out tomorrow. A look at your 7-day forecast coming up.
Watch NewsdayTV on the big screen. Use the remote to activate Siri, Alexa, Roku, or the Google Assistant on your streaming device. Say, install Newsday. NewsdayTV, covering Long Island like no one else can.
Field day in Suffolk County. Amateur ham radio operators taking to the airways. Drew Scott has a story you'll see only in Newsday.
Whiskey 9 Tango Delta 2 Alpha, New York, Long Island.
You're listening to one of 40,000 radio amateurs sending out radio calls to other clubs. They're participating in this once-a-year, 24-hour-long emergency preparedness drill at the Longwood Estate and Ridge.
Most people don't realize that when they lose power, they lose communication, cell phones go down, cell towers go down, natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, take out the infrastructure. So they have to rely on amateur radio to get communications through.
Dennis Boyer is known on ham radio as AH2 or Alpha Hotel 20 and says amateur radio is the only way to reestablish life-saving worldwide communications after an emergency. Almost all of the power is supplied by car batteries or solar panels. The radio clubs set up these antennas in a matter of minutes, and then they are able to relay vital information. There are 4 ways to communicate using ham radio. This operator is using voice radio. Another is using digital contact. This operator is sending out good old-fashioned Morse code. And this is a satellite radio antenna, which comes in handy when Earth signals just don't get through.
We're going to be making contacts through low Earth orbit satellites that were built and put into orbit by nonprofit ham organizations.
Whiskey 2, Golf Sierra Bravo. We have several HF and UHF positions where we can actually send an email to another radio in an unaffected part of the country to get information out to officials. If we have nothing here, we got to communicate with the state. We can actually send an email to the state OEM on behalf of the town of Babylon and or Suffolk County. We show up, we start operating right away, and the trailer is a command post.
In 2017, when Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico, ham radio was the only way to get messages out to loved ones here on Long Island, thanks to the round-the-clock work of these amateur radio volunteers. Brookhaven Town Councilman Michael Lagorcio says those relayed messages were received with heartfelt thanks.
And with that, he would give them a call, the families over here in New York or in the States, and say, hey, I just spoke to your loved one. They're okay. They're safe. They just want to let you know that they're okay. And he said that people would break down and cry.
In Ridge, Drew Scott for Newsday TV.
Great insight. Read more about the Amateur Radio Field Day on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. A North Fork marina is celebrating its centennial year in business. Randy Dodonna has a story you'll see only in Newsday.
It goes way back to the 1640s. The Goldsmith family was settled down out here in Southall. My dad was working as a foreman back to 1923. And I'd say he quit his job and went to work on his own. He wanted to get involved because he believed in the war effort. He thought that our business would fit right into building boats for the military, for the Navy. My dad died, as far as I'm concerned, prematurely, and I was kind of going along for the ride, just an employee. But the final upshot was it that I really liked to be the owner of the place.
This year is our 100th anniversary. We're recognized as the oldest continuous marine dealership in the United States. He is the hardest working man I know. He'd be here early, he'd come home, have dinner with us. After dinner, he'd come back to work. And it was all to keep the business going, to keep the customers satisfied. I don't know how my dad did it pretty much single-handedly for all those years. It was instilled in us from a very early age, you know, the work ethic, and stuck through it ever since.
There's a lot of, you know, say customers that maybe they might not be here that dealt with my grandfather and my dad, but now their kids are doing their boating with us, so it's nice.
It's our names that are out in front. It's our names that's on the building. So we're the ones, you know, the buck stops with us.
Leaving the business to us to move forward and continue, it's been nice. It's good memories.
Nice. Read more about Goldsmith's boat shop on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.
Get more of the stories you've seen on Newsday TV at Newsday.com. Plus breaking news, investigations, things to do, restaurants, and other Long Island news you can't get anywhere else. At Newsday.com, covering Long Island like no one else can.
I'm Jasmine Anderson. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with a look at your hyperlocal 7-day forecast.